Hi there, good morning. You're watching Market Cafe on ET Now. It's a bright new day for us on the street and lots to watch out for in trade. We'll be telling you everything that you need to be keeping your eye out on in terms of stocks, in terms of some news flow related to some companies, corporate action, all the events to watch out for, everything to brush you up to speed from market close yesterday to the start of the trading day today. But before we do that, let's take a look at all the important global handover coming in for us this morning. And Shreyansi, tell us through what the US market has done, because we have seen a couple of shaky days coming in, but all seems to be well for the Nasdaq once again.
Well, absolutely. Good morning, Snehi. It was a bright day, in fact, for the Nasdaq also, because when you take a look at the move coming in for the Nasdaq, that is the one that gained around 1.8%, topping the 20,000 threshold as well and posting an all-time high as well as a closing record. So that's the move coming in as far as Nasdaq is concerned. But even when you take a look at the broad market, that is the S&P 500, that's the one that added 0.8% thereabout, and meanwhile you did have the 30 stock Dow on the other hand that did underperform when compared to the other two indices, because that fell around 99 points or just about 0.2%. So that's the kind of move that you saw coming in as far as all three of those indices are concerned. But let's also take a look at November's Consumer Price Index report. Now that also came in line with economists' estimates, leading investors to then anticipate another rate cut from the Federal Reserve at its policy meeting next week. Now this is something that we've been talking about for a while. This is a data set that was awaited, and we'll of course be getting you more details on this later in the show as well. But for now, it was in line with estimates is what we're going to be talking about. Other than that, there's of course additional inflation data that awaits us on Thursday morning US time with the release of the Producer Price Index report for November as well. That's the one to watch out for, because you do have the kind of expectations that are there is that of a 0.2% increase on a monthly basis, and you also have weekly jobless claims that we're watching out for. So that's all the data that is on the deck. But speaking of what's on the deck, there's also on the earnings front, chip giant Broadcom, home furnishings company RH, as well as retailer Costco Wholesale that are due to post results after the bell as well. So those are the ones that we're definitely watching out for. And that largely is what the handover does look like when it comes to Nasdaq, S&P 500, as well as the Dow Jones. But Snehi, tell us about oil then.
Absolutely, lots been happening on the oil front as well. Let's take a look at everything that's been happening with oil. We'll also be talking about what's happening with gold. First up, let's take a look at everything that's been happening with crude oil first. You have lots of reasons that have come into play today, and lots has happened in the oil market last evening as well. Lots of updates trickling in, but before we do that, let's take a look at what the WTI is up to, and that has crossed that $70 per barrel mark, now at 70.3 as we speak. So that's a big jump coming in on WTI oil. You also have Brent that is close to that $74 per barrel mark, so but a bigger jump coming in on the US WTI oil index. You have lots of action that has come in, and oil prices in general have jumped yesterday after the European Union has agreed to an additional round of sanctions threatening Russian oil flows, while a larger than expected build in US stockpiles last week has capped the gains. Also, you have European Union that was in focus, the EU was in focus, and we'll be telling you more about that as well. But just to give you a slight bit of an idea of what has happened, the EU has agreed an additional round of sanctions threatening Russian oil flows. So that is something that is in focus. The EU ambassadors agreed to a 15th package of sanctions over Russia over its war against UK. We'll be telling you more about this as well. Now, curbing price gains on Wednesday, gasoline and distillate inventories rose by more than expected last week, according to data from the EIA, weighing on crude prices. Meanwhile, producers group OPEC cut its forecast for demand growth in 2024 as well as 2025 for the fifth straight month on Wednesday, and by the largest amount yet. Now, weak demand, particularly in the top importer of oil in the world, which is China, and non-OPEC plus supply growth were two reasons behind this price surge that we have seen in oil, and especially everything that's been happening around the EU and their sanctions as well. However, investors anticipate a rise in Chinese demand following Beijing's latest plans to boost economic growth. So that is something that's going to be in focus. Quickly just taking you through what gold is up to. And gold is advanced as inflation data has fueled Fed rate cut optimism. We'll be telling you more about what the inflation print is looking like from the US as well. But as of now, spot gold at $2,755 per ounce is what gold is doing. But let's once again shift focus on oil, because a lot has been happening on that front. OPEC has gone ahead and lowered demand growth forecast for this year and the next for a fifth straight month. Now, this cut to 2024 forecast amount to the steepest one so far. The group now expects global oil demand to increase by 1.6 barrels per day in 2024, down 210,000 barrels per day from its previous forecast. For 2025, demand is projected to grow by 1.4 million barrels per day, a 90,000 barrels per day downward revision as well.
Well, absolutely. Moving on, but keeping it with oil then, because like Stehi mentioned, European Union has agreed on a new raft of sanctions against Russia over its war on Ukraine, targeting in particular a vast shadow fleet of ships that Moscow is exploiting to skirt restrictions then on transporting oil as well as fuel. Do remember that this is the EU's 15 sanctions package targeting Russia. The new penalties will ban an additional 52 tankers from EU ports, raising the total to 79 now in a bid to rein in Russia's shadow fleet then. In fact, the package will also be penalizing individuals as well as companies accused of helping the Kremlin secure banned technologies.
Okay, so that's everything that's been happening with the world of crude and oil, but let's take a look at all the important events to watch out for in today's trade, and lots to watch out for because remember last evening we had CPI data trickle in from the US. Today we have CPI data back home, so that inflation print is going to be very important to watch out for, and this is going to be the first reading that we are getting since the announcement of the new governor yesterday. His term has begun yesterday. This number is going to be very crucial to watch out for to gauge what is going to happen in that February meeting of the RBI. And along with that, you also have industrial production numbers coming in back home. Shifting focus to some global cues then. Initial jobless claims will be coming in from the US, and after the CPI yesterday, you have the Producers Price Index, the PPI data, that will be coming out today. From the UK, then GDP figures coming out. That's also going to be a very important number to track with trade balance. And from Eurozone, well, it's going to be a very heavy day because you have the ECB rate decision coming in. Remember, ours has recently happened back home. ECB rate decision today and the US Fed rate decision on the 17th and 18th of this month. These are going to be some very important central bank moves to watch out for. Shifting focus back home, let's talk about some corporate action to watch out for in trade. The stock of NHPC will be in focus because that company's board is going to be meeting to mull fundraising today. In terms of the primary market, you have the Inventurous Knowledge Solutions. It's a Rekha Jhunjhunwala backed IPO that's going to be opening for subscription today. Also, lock-in period is going to be ending for two recently listed companies, Niva Bupa Health Insurance. You have 4% equity coming out of lock-in today, and Bajaj Housing Finance 2% equity coming out of lock-in into the open market. In terms of other events, you have ECB President Christine Lagarde, who will be speaking, of course, after the rate announcement that will come. So that's going to be some important commentary to track. Other than that, you also have Chinese leaders. They are likely to map out the economic priorities and stimulus plan for 2025 after a closed-door conference today. So watch out for any announcement on that front and the reaction that it has on the Shanghai index as well.
Well, absolutely. Lots to watch out for back home as well as across the globe. But on to the biggest headline this morning then. Consumer prices in the United States increased in November by the most in 7 months. The CPI index rose 0.3% last month. That was the largest gain coming in since April after advancing 0.2% for 4 straight months. In fact, this means that the progress on lowering inflation toward Fed's 2% target has virtually stalled. Despite persistently high inflation, and there was some encouraging news. Rents, one of the stickier components of inflation, in fact, rose at the slowest pace in nearly 3.5 years. What's left to see is whether the Federal Reserve is going to be still delivering that rate cut this month, largely on expected lines.
Okay, and meanwhile, shares of Elon Musk's Tesla scale an all-time high, surpassing prior record reached in 2021, sparked by a post-election rally and Wall Street's increased enthusiasm for Elon Musk's electric vehicle company. Tesla's market value has swelled by roughly 71% this year, with almost majority of those gains coming since Donald Trump's election victory early last month. The stock's 38% rally in November marked its best monthly performance since January 2023 and its 10th best on record as well.
Well, absolutely, Snehi, and it doesn't look like Alphabet was far behind because when it comes to life highs, you did have the 2-day 11% rally that was driven by the company's launch of its latest quantum computing chip. The stock, of course, topped its earlier life high scale back in July this year. In fact, shares were up 5% on an intraday basis.
Okay, and on to some important commentary coming in from US Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen. She said that she was worried that President-elect Donald Trump's plan to levy broad import tariffs could derail progress in quelling inflation and raise costs for households and businesses. Now, additionally, she highlighted that dialogue with China will be key in capping Russia's might and that it's critical to have talks open with China. Speaking on the dollar, she said that the greenback is underpinned by the strength in the US economy.
Alright, then let's get you some updates coming in from the political landscape. Then tensions between the opposition and Rajya Sabha Chairman Jagdeep Dhankar came to a head yesterday as the Congress-led opposition parties submitted a notice for a motion in the House to remove him from the post. Congress leaders Jairam Ramesh as well as Nasir Hussain submitted the notice signed by 60 MPs. India Bloc parties addressed a press conference as well and accused Dhankar of biased and partisan behavior. The BJP also slammed Congress over the no confidence motion, saying that the Congress has never respected the chair. In fact, the BJP President JP Nadda also lashed out at Congress and also said that the party's comments against Dhankar must be condemned. In fact, let's go across and listen in to political reactions coming in over this particular issue.
मैं यहाँ ये भी कहना चाहता हूँ कि संवैधानिक पदों पर हमारे चेयर पर जिस तरीके का आक्षेप कांग्रेस पार्टी ने लगाया है ये भर्त्सना योग्य है. It should be condemned by all, one and all. It should be condemned. और ये इन्होंने चेयर की कभी रिस्पेक्ट नहीं की है, चाहे हाउस के अंदर हो चाहे हाउस के बाहर हो. जिस तरीके की बयानबाजी इन्होंने संवैधानिक पदों पर बैठे हुए और हमारे चेयर के डिसीजन को किया है वो निंदनीय है और देश कभी माफ नहीं करने वाला है.
चेयरमैन की तरफ से हो रहे बायस्ड पार्टीजन व्यवहार विपक्षी पार्टियों को उनके खिलाफ ये प्रस्ताव लाने पर मजबूर किया. पिछले 3 वर्षों में उनका आचरण उनके पद की गरिमा के विपरीत रहा है. कभी वे सरकार के तारीफ में कसीदे पढ़ने लगते हैं, कभी खुद को आरएसएस का एकलव्य बताने लगते हैं. इस तरह की बयानबाजी उनके पद को शोभा नहीं देती. सभापति जी सदन के अंदर प्रतिपक्ष के नेताओं को अपने विरोधियों की तरह देखते हैं. सीनियर जूनियर कोई भी हो, दोनों सदनों के विपक्षी नेताओं पर आपत्तिजनक टिप्पणियां कर उन्हें अपमानित भी करते हैं.
Okay, lots happening on the political spectrum back home, but on that note, we'll slip into a very short break on Market Cafe. When we return, we'll take a look at what the Asian markets are up to, so you stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Welcome back. Thank you so much for staying tuned in. Well, as promised, let's get you a check going on the Asian markets then. And the first one to highlight without a doubt is going to be Japan's Nikkei. On your screens, 1.5% uptick coming in. Now, it did climb 1.7% at market open, currently clutching on to most of those gains, 1.5% uptick as we speak as well. So it's been a bright morning thus far for the Nikkei. Let's also take a quick look at Hang Seng because that's the one that's also clutching on to a shade of green. On your screens, 0.1% uptick coming in for the Hang Seng as well. Now, Shanghai is also the one that is currently down marginally, 0.1% downtick coming in for that one as well. Now, of course, traders in Asia are going to be assessing jobs data coming in from Australia, which of course showed the country's unemployment rate dropped to 3.9% in November from 4.1% the prior month as well. And on the back of that, you do have ASX 200 1.10% downtick coming in there as well. And when you take a look at the Kospi as well, that's the one that's also clutching on to that shade of red on your screens. 0.6% downtick, tinge of red coming in for the Kospi as well. So it's largely the Nikkei that is displaying a lot of strength and resilience at this point because that's the one that is eking out those 5% gains as well as we speak. But back home, then Nifty shut shop around the 24,640 levels, and currently what is being penciled in is a gap up start, quite the uptick that we're penciling in at this point. So let's hope that it's going to be as bright a morning as it's been for Nikkei.
Absolutely, we can only hope for a good open this morning, because on the spot we do have a gap up. On the futures we're looking rather tempered, but let's see what pans out for us today. In terms of what we have lined up for you today, a whole host of market guests as well as managements. Joining us at 9:20, you have Mahesh Patil, CIO at Aditya Birla Sun Life AMC, to talk about strategies to beat the street right now and where he's seeing value, the sectors that he's liking right now. At 9:30, followed by that, we have Vinayak Chatterjee, founder and managing trustee of the InfraVision Foundation, who's going to be joining us to talk about whether we can expect a capex boost coming. Remember, the finance minister has already started discussions with key stakeholders ahead of the budget. While we are talking about capex, at 9:40, we'll be joined by Anil Yadav, the director at IRB Infrastructure, to talk about the growth in infra projects, if that is going to rebound, and the path ahead. At 9:50, then we'll be switching focus and talking about consumption trends with Karan Taurani, senior VP at Elara Securities, who's going to be here to talk about the festive trends seen in the QSR space. And lastly, at 10 a.m., we'll be joined by CS Vigneshwar, president of FADA, to give us a Motown check and how luxury cars have been performing, what's the road going ahead on the back of the big auto sales numbers that also we've seen recently. Lots of important market guests and managements lined up, so yes, you stay tuned to the market all day.
Well, absolutely, that's a power-packed lineup for you right there. Welcome back. Thank you so much for staying tuned in. Well, let's get you some more news and updates. And Mint Street welcomed its new boss as Sanjay Malhotra took charge as the 26th RBI governor. Mr. Malhotra is an IAS officer and has been a career bureaucrat, in fact, for the last 33 years, and has served in sectors spanning power, finance, taxation, information technology, as well as mining before becoming the revenue secretary. He also served as the secretary in the Department of Financial Services, also in the Ministry of Finance. Mr. Malhotra also holds an engineering degree in computer science from IIT Kanpur and a master's degree in public policy as well from Princeton University. Let's go across and listen in to a slice of his speech at his first press conference as the RBI governor.
The huge responsibility that we have in ensuring that the growth that this country actually has, that continues, that is, part of this theme, and that will continue. Stability in policy, again, very, very important, and this is something, even in my previous role, we try to give a stability, a continuity in policy. So whether it is taxation policy or fiscal policy or monetary policy, I think all businesses, all people, they do need this continuity and stability. How we can further use technology to reduce costs, to make financial inclusion, more accessible and all pervasive is one key pillar that we will work on. And for this, of course, innovation will be key. And while innovation will have to be fostered, will have to be supported, we will, of course, have to be also conscious of the risks that it may entail.
Okay, lots of key takeaways coming in from the new RBI governor's speech, but we decoded the speech with experts, and they also touched upon the key challenges that the new RBI governor could potentially face. Let's go across and listen in to what they make of this speech.
The governor has been very cautious and non-committal on the first day. So that's what he has said up front, that he would need to be here for a few more days, and then he would get back on more concrete thoughts. So what he's actually spoken about technology, spoken about financial inclusion. These are the goals of the government of India as well as Reserve Bank of India. We've seen a lot of progress being done there in the financial sector on financial inclusion. Also the kind of advance which we have made in technology, I think that's very well known. So there's obviously, this is the non-committal part of it. But I think we would get to know in course of time, hopefully in the next week or so, as to what exactly the governor feels about how we should be addressing the different challenges which we have today. I think chief among them are, of course, something like the monetary policy. But we should keep one thing in mind, that the monetary policy committee consists of only half the members being from Reserve Bank. We have 3 outside experts also. But to the extent that one gets to know about how the governor would tend to vote when we have the next policy in February, I think that could probably talk about what kind of inclinations he does have, but that would only be by implication. The other thing, of course, is in terms of the immediate problem which we're having of the rupee depreciating. I think that's something which the market would be interested to see as to whether the governor would like to defend the rupee to the same extent or whether he'll wait and watch.
All right, and that's some commentary coming in on that all-important change of guard. But tell you what, let's keep it going with some commentary. Get you some commentary from the FMCG space then on the sidelines of the CII National FMCG Summit 2024. ET now, in fact, caught up with top honchos from the likes of Godrej Consumer Sudhir Sitapati, Ranjit Singh Kohli of Britannia Industries, and even Rakshit Hargave of Birla Opus to understand their company's plans then to deal with the current pricing pressures as well as the outlook that they're penciling in terms of rural demand as well. Let's go across and listen into a slice of those conversations.
Sharp increases in palm oil in the last 6 months, but large soaps business, but we don't pass on everything to consumers all at once. So quite a lot of it we absorb. Judicious step-by-step price increase. We've been doing it. We normally take one price increase. We wait for the competition. For very much over a period of time, we will gradually. We also hope that this is a temporary phase of palm oil prices.
Okay, so just last question. What are your expectations from 2025? If we say your business expectations, your numbers, your growth.
No, I mean, we're generally bullish. I think, across the world, India is, I would say, there are always ups and downs, but broadly speaking, the India story holds. And within that, we're trying to move our portfolio to faster growing categories. We announced a few months ago that we're entering pet care. We're entering different fast moving categories. We did an acquisition in deodorants and condoms. So these are all fast growing categories.
Sure, we talked of this about in our LS meet. The inflation's been real, whether it's in the flour, and the big one that's really came as a surprise. Cocoa prices have gone up, as you know, but the big one that's came as a surprise was the entire duty increase that's happened on the palm oil by 25%, which has actually led to a 40% increase in terms of pricing. Now that definitely impacts all companies. But having said that, as an organization, we're very conscious at Britannia. We always work on a CEP program, which is cost efficiency programs, of reducing costs within the system. So 2% is something that we always work through. For the last decade, we've been doing that. This year, we're actually going more aggressive, 3%, so that we don't have to pass on the entire inflation to the consumer. Having said that, some bit of price increase is inevitable, and we've taken some steps already in that direction in Q3, and some more will happen in Q4, both in terms of biscuit side, in the cake side, and entire range. But we've been conscious in terms of ensuring we don't touch some price points. There will be shrinkflation in some packs, but mostly the large packs are the ones where we've taken a bit of absolute price increase as well. But as I said, it's a tightrope walk, and we're ensuring that we don't and the onus is on to us as market leaders in the food industry to take that first step to go there. Partnership with Bell clearly augurs well that we've done, it's a partnership of mutual trust, and they bring in a lot of wealth of experience that they bring in, 120 years of experience they have in cheese, and we have a very strong foundation in India. So that's an amazing partnership that's come together. You've seen the plant, it's state-of-the-art plant. So a lot of work, products that will come through from Bell side is yet to come into India. We'll be able to provide that in, manufacture in India and provide to Indian consumers. We also have a partnership with Chipita Foods, which is the croissant. And therefore, as an organization, we're very happy to partner with most companies which are there and look and explore white spaces there. Nothing specific to say at this stage, but as I said, we're very open, and this partnership is something that we'll continue to build upon.
I think we are doing both of them side by side. You see, to commercialize plants and expand our capacity is a task by itself. To expand your distribution network and sales is a task by itself. So we can't do one at the cost of the other. So we are working full throttle on both the sides.
Okay. It's a very competitive space, as we've seen recently. So how important does price become in this, or are there other factors that that you're considering more important?
So like you say, I'll go back to school. So there are 4 P's of marketing. Price is also important, but the other 3 P's are also important, and we are focusing on all of them.
Okay. And one last question. What is it that is making the distributors and the dealers move to a new company in this market right now?
So I think they see the quality of our products, they see the trust of the Birla brand, they see the hard work being put in by the team, and they look at the consumer work that we are doing, the work that we are doing with contractors. I think that gives the trade a lot of confidence that if you bet with Birla Opus, you are in for a very long and profitable relationship with them.
Okay, those are the takeaways coming in from the CII FMCG day. But on that note, we'll slip into a very short break and we'll be right back with you with some more stock-specific updates on the other side. So you stay tuned.
Welcome back. Thank you so much for staying tuned in. Well, tell you what, let's get you some more news and updates. And as promised, we also have a list going on the stocks that you should be keeping on your radar bright and early this morning. In fact, we have Ria standing by with just that list. Ria, over to you.
Yes, good morning. So let's take a look at the stocks that are going to be in focus today. First up, we have Greaves Cotton. Now, they have come out with an update on the earlier proposed IPO. The management has considered and approved the offer for sale on certain equity shares of GEML held by the company in the proposed IPO. We also have Bharat Forge in focus. Now, the company has said that the tranche 1 investment has been completed by the company and by KCPTL in their SPV called Sunshore Solar Park for an investment of 12.0%, 06% stake each. There's also Gland Pharma in focus. Now, this company has received an approval from the US FDA for a drug called phytonadione injectable emulsion, and according to the IQVIA, the product had US sales of approximately $15 million for the 12 months ending September 2024. There's also Grasim in focus. Now, the board of directors has approved the issuance of NCDs on a private placement basis for an amount up to rupees 2,000 crores. So keep your eye out on that as well. There's also Shriram Finance in focus. Now, the company has announced that announced the successful completion of the sale of its entire stake, that is 84.44% of the shareholding on a fully diluted basis in its housing finance subsidiary called Shriram Housing Finance Limited to Warburg Pincus for a sale consideration of rupees 3,929 crores. Also, keep your eye out on Nuvama Wealth. Now, media reports are suggesting that Edelweiss Group is going to sell nearly 7% stake in the company via block deals. The block deal size will be nearly $200 million or rupees 1,700 crores, and the floor price of the block deal will be likely at rupees 6,800 per equity share. Also, keep your eye out on Vedanta, since a board meeting is going to be held on the 16th of December in this year to consider the 4th interim dividend on equity shares for FY25, and the record date for this will be 24th December. Lastly, also keep your eye out on Strides Pharma. There's been an update on the demerger. Now, OneSource Specialty Pharma Limited has informed the company that they have completed the allotment of equity shares on the 10th of December to the shareholders of the company, and in line with the share entitlement ratio, OneSource has allotted one share of 1 rupee each of OneSource for every 2 shares held by Strides shareholders. So keep your eye on all of these stocks today.
Well, Ria, thanks so much for taking us through that. Lots to watch out for when it comes to all the stocks today, but let's also watch out for one specific stock in today's trade, and that is Swiggy, because they have launched their new invite-only membership offering, and that's called Swiggy One Black. The aim is to drive growth across all businesses, and One Black is an invite-only premium membership. This is India's only membership that offers benefits across the 3 segments, the 3 business verticals, the likes of food delivery, quick commerce, as well as going out. This is available by invitation only, and Swiggy One Black is offered at a launch price of 299 rupees for a 3-month plan. Invitations will be rolled out in phases, and also the existing Swiggy One members can upgrade to this new membership. What are the perks that members will enjoy? Faster deliveries on every food order, an on-time guarantee, complimentary cocktails and drinks on desserts while going out, while dining out that is, access to Swiggy's top customer care agents for personalized and priority support. They'll also be receiving exclusive perks from brands like Amazon Prime, Hotstar, Hamleys, Cinepolis. And to celebrate the launch of Swiggy One Black, Swiggy is also offering a complimentary Yatra Prime membership to all the One Black members. All the current benefits of the current Swiggy One membership can also be availed in addition to Swiggy One Black, and these perks are unlimited free deliveries on both food delivery and Swiggy Instamart, and exclusive member-only discounts on food delivery and dine out. So that's the latest update coming in from Swiggy. They've launched a new, they've rolled out a new membership, invite-only membership called Swiggy One Black. So that's the update coming in on Swiggy. But while we're talking about the entire consumption space, let's also take in the view that's coming in from Macquarie this morning. Macquarie has come out with a note on the consumer and lifestyle space. The brokerage firm sees near-term volume growth to risk and earnings for consumer staples. Now, if you have to take a look at this note in detail, here's what they have to say. And lots of views coming in, but the one that stands out to us is that Titan is their top pick when it comes to the consumer space, followed by ITC and Marico. They believe that category expansion and continued aggression from quick commerce players will continue to pose risk to big box retailer DMart along with Nykaa. Nykaa will also see some trouble on the back of the quick commerce expansion. They believe that near-term volume growth likely will remain weak going ahead, and they also see risk to earnings for consumer staples. They're also saying that volume trends will remain similar or slightly weaker in Q3 compared to Q2. So that's slightly negative coming in from Macquarie, but that's the take on the entire consumption space. Titan emerging as their top pick.
Alright, then let's switch focus to macros then, because India's consumer price index based retail inflation for the month of November might come near 5.5%. In fact, we do have Gaurav who's standing by with an update on what is being penciled in when it comes to IIP as well as CPI data sets.
Well, yes, when we talk about CPI data, this is going to be a very crucial month to track this data, and the reason being that in the last month, I mean in the month of October, we have already seen that CPI crossed that 6% mark, and now experts are expecting CPI to come down to below that 6% mark. They're expecting CPI to be at 5.5%. Now the reasons being that last month we saw vegetable prices were a reason why we saw CPI was above 6%, and now they're expecting some kind of easing in vegetable prices, and at the same time we may also see some kind of stabilization in the edible oil prices, and that is the reason why they're expecting this slowdown. Other than that, we have already seen RBI also being a little cautious about it. They have said that there is persistent pricing pressure from the vegetable side, and that is the reason why they have also hiked the inflation expectation for third quarter almost by 100 basis points. But on the back of all these factors, now we're expecting CPI to be at 5.5%. On the other hand, when we talk about growth, there also we saw Q2 was a little bit of surprise. We saw 7 quarters slow growth in second quarter, but after that, when we talk about IIP, which is India's industrial production data, they're expecting around 3.7% growth there. And the reason being that when we talk about some of the macro indicators as well as some of the indicators that suggest that there is some festive demand which was seen in this month of in the month of October, and at the same time this will also be supported by rural as well as urban consumption, which is picking up. On the other hand, when we talk about some of the industries like coal, steel and electricity, we have already seen high input, and that is the reason why experts are expecting 3.7% to be a number for IIP data. Overall, it will be really difficult, and it will be really interesting to see how the numbers come out, because this also depends, I mean that these numbers also will be factored in when it comes to MPC meet in the month of February, but definitely watching out on these numbers as how and when they come.
All right, thanks Gaurav for taking us through that. CPI and IIP both are going to be some key macro data points to track later in the day today. But on that note, unfortunately, we're completely wrapped up on this edition of Market Cafe. Shreyansi and I bid you goodbye, but as we do that, you stay tuned to the channel because the market takes all the action forward.
If you like this video, then like, share and subscribe to ET Now.